House of Representatives summons service chiefs to brief members on plans to secure the country. House commends organized labor over decision to suspend indefinite strike. And Speaker, Senate President unveil 8-point legislative agenda for the 10th Assembly. Hello and welcome to You and Your Reps on the NTA. I am Victor Azo. Thanks for joining us. The House of Representatives has asked the Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs to unfailingly appear physically before the House to brief lawmakers on measures and policies in place towards addressing security challenges in the country. The House says it will not interface with proxies of chief executives or top government functionaries who are invited for sectoral briefings and debates in Parliament.
The House of Representatives had scheduled the defense sector to begin its sectoral debate, which is a constitutional mandate of Parliament to receive briefings from policymakers on the floor of the House and seek clarifications where necessary. The Chief of Defense Staff, as well as the Chiefs of Army, Navy, and Air Staff, had been invited for this plenary, but their representatives showed up to the displeasure of lawmakers.
The gentlemen they have sent have a great profile, great pedigree, have served the nation in various capacities, are competent to discuss with us. But in this case, based on the provisions of 88 and 89, it has not been satisfied before the House that their top officer, their number one officer, should not appear before the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I want to move that as it has been the tradition of this House, when we invite chief executives, be it private sector or public sector, they must come in person. I want to pray that we don't break this sacred tradition of our House, lest we be taken for granted. I therefore move that this sectorial engagement be suspended until the leaders of these agencies that we invited come to address us, take our questions, explain certain things to us. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Our dear brothers, you have heard from the House in an emphatic manner that this House does not encourage, does not accept representation, particularly at this high-level engagement. We thank you for coming. Please convey our message to your service chiefs that we understand the tight schedules they have, and we're willing to make an adjustment to reschedule this engagement for them to appear in person.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives welcomed the decision of organized labor to suspend its 2-day-old industrial action. The Green Chamber also commended the Presidency, the Ministry of Labour and Employment, and the Office of the National Security Advisor for their efforts in ensuring that the industrial action is suspended for the benefit of all Nigerians. Now, this was contained in a statement jointly signed by Chairman of the House Committee on Labour, Employment and Productivity, Aderemi Oseni, and House spokesman Akin Rotimi Jr. In line with its legislative agenda, the House says it is positioned to intervene in national challenges and ensure that the welfare of citizens are protected at all times. Later on, You and Your Reps engaged Chair of the House Committee on Labour, Employment and Productivity, Aderemi Oseni. He spoke on plans of the committee to nip such industrial actions in the bud through dialogue.
Our focus is the area of job creation. Another one is to enhance productivity and at least also to provide social insurance for workers. You realize that most of our youth, most of them are not employed, some of them are underemployed. Our focus is to create jobs. Because we realize that about 80% of jobs of employed people are in informal sector of the economy. They are not captured as being workers. We are talking of being some artisans. People are into craft, artisan, all this. So they are not. They are informal. They are informal sector of the economy. So we are looking for a way to bring them to the net of employed Nigeria. Because if you are in informal sector of economy, your wages, your salary, your time of working year depends on your employer. And most of them, they don't operate the international standard of labor management. So what we are looking at is to increase the net of employed youth in Nigeria. Like ND, I think their major mandate is job creation. Maybe in the area of skill acquisition and empowerment. We want to change the focus, the narrative. We want to change the paradigm shift of where they just do maybe retreat or seminar and then already they give them 10,000, which is not sustainable. But if you can increase it to maybe 500,000, with that they can start a living, they can start a business. The problem with NRCTF is enormous. Because we believe that they try to take care of the social insurance of workers. Maybe the area of occupational hazard, maybe accident during office. But what we realize is that the money coming from there is not commensurate with what they're supposed to be getting. Because I learned that there's one program, one platform now, ENSTF. I think we are going through that to see how we can assist them to make that thing functional. Because with ENSTF, they will be able to generate more money and I think they will take care of workers in Nigeria. So we are looking in that area of assisting them. They've started the process. They started the process better. I think they are not completed it, but they are the verge of finalizing the agreement with the vendor. So we are looking at a way of making that thing come into reality. So what we are trying to do is to look at the agreement they have reached with the workers and how to implement it. That's our focus now, because we are not party to the agreement. We don't know what they agreed on. But the job of the executive legislature is where they have issues, where the two contending groups, the labor and the executive, where they cannot agree. We call me as a mediator that can resolve their impasse that's between the two parties. Our hope is to reduce the current this deja vu thing of going on strike every time. Doesn't pay anybody. It's not the interest of our workers, except of the nation. Because recently things are tough. Our workers are suffering, Nigerians are suffering. So we don't need to compound our suffering by going on strike. I think that should be the last option, the last resort in any industrial dispute. It's not the first approach, it should be the last. So I will just appeal to my brothers who are in organized labor, or leadership of organized labor in Nigeria, that before they use their last weapon, they should allow every negotiation. They should consult widely and allow people to come in and interface and dialogue with them before they take their final decision.
And the leadership of the National Assembly says it stands ready to partner the executive arm of government, using every legislative instrument to create jobs for Nigeria's teeming youth, as well as provide affordable healthcare and security for all Nigerians. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, stated this as they officially unveiled an 8-point legislative agenda for the 10th Assembly.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives provide focal areas for legislation and intervention in tandem with the renewed hope agenda of the federal government.
The legislative agenda has 8 priority areas, which include strengthening good governance, improving national security, law reform, economic growth and development, social sector reform and development, inclusion, and open parliament. All committees are requested to integrate the agenda to their respective work plans. Members should also ensure that legislative proposals, including bills, motions, etc., are in line with the provision of this agenda.
Bills are typically read 3 times, but the second reading has been identified as the most important stage in the life of a bill. Why so? We asked Chair of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, to provide answers.
The life of a bill is determined by the outcome of the second reading. The first reading is where a lawmaker presents his ideas on paper. And what we do in the Rules and Business is the committee is to go and, scrutinize it, ensure there's no conflicting legislation, ensure that it's in agreement with the ground law, which is the constitution of the country, and ensure that it is grammatically correct, the legal drafting is okay. Then we gazette it, we give it a number, so we publish as first reading. Nothing happens other than that. But at second reading, the sponsor, the lawmaker who is sponsoring that bill, now comes up with a lead debate that must carry an explanatory memoranda. What is he trying to achieve? What defect in society is he trying to cure? So he's given that room to talk about the law that he's proposing. And after he has spoken, members will be given the opportunity to speak for or against. It's at this point that many bills die, because if the groundswell of opinion is against it, they put it on the vote, and the nays will have it. But if the ayes have it, then it scales to the next stage, which is either being referred to a committee, as the case may be, or public hearing, or it depends on the type of legislation that is being proposed. But the second reading is the stage, at most cases, where a bill can die.
As the Yuletide approaches, major roads across the country are expected to become busier. What is the state of these roads? This is only a small part of our interaction with Chair of the House Committee on Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FERMA, Aderemi Oseni. The structural engineer also weighed in on the debate over asphalt or concrete for road construction.
I think this will be the first time in the last maybe 20, 30 years now that a professional will be doing an oversight work for FERMA. Before now, professionals have not been privileged to handle FEMA. I think this, in one way or the other, equally might have been influencing some of the challenges that we're having in our area of service delivery in that direction. And two, the other thing that I think is very interesting to me in this responsibility is this agency, FEMA, is equally under Minister of Works for the first time as well in about maybe 20, 30 years as well, that this ministry will be supervised by a qualified civil engineer for the first time, meaning that whatever I'm going to do in FEMA is already on the right path or in the right direction. Why? Because when you're discussing with people who understand the language, we're discussing with people who understand what you want, we're discussing with people who can interpret what you are saying. It's different from somebody who is waiting for third-party interpretation. So that solves our problem. Going forward, FEMA, my focus as the chairman of FEMA in this 10th National Assembly is, number one, to refertilize FEMA. Number two is to see how we will reposition FEMA for delivery. Three is for us to see collectively how FEMA will be re-engineered. And finally, to have a new FEMA. We have FEMA yesterday, we have FEMA today, and we are looking for a new FEMA. Part of the 14 legislative agenda, we look at the global road network in Nigeria. We'll review it as a whole, as a committee. Then we'll call for baseline for FEMA as an institution. Let them come up holistically, look at the entire road network in the country and x-ray and let us know exactly what are the challenges that we have road by road in as far as the nation is concerned. Not only that, when you look at FEMA, if you tell anyone about FEMA now, I'm talking about FEMA today, it calls for concern. We address the issue of transparency, performance-based FEMA. That's the type of FEMA that we're looking forward to see, where Nigeria will be able to get value for money, where procurement processes will address the expectation of Nigerians, where roads construction, whether maintenance or rehabilitation or total reconstruction, will be given to people who have capacity to deliver such services efficiently and qualitatively. Not only that, we are going to look at FEMA and see how we help FEMA to address the current challenges, because one of the major challenges of FEMA is funding. I've been able to come up with about 22 funding approach that we're going to look at as a committee. All these 22 funding patterns, we're going to introduce them when the act is reviewed. When you ask them, why is it that the social road has not been done, they will say it's because of money. When you ask them, why is this one not done properly, they will say because we have little money. Practically every road work that they start, they don't complete. And on that note, the issue of funding is a major priority of this committee, which by the grace of God, will ensure that we fix it with this 22 funding pattern that I am already putting in place for FEMA to implement. When you look at FEMA, even the current act that we're having, we have funding that is coming from federal government directly in form of allocation to them, which is what they use annually. Two, they have concession arrangements. In the act, no single road has been concessioned. FEMA has no capacity to complete or to fix. Even Federal Ministry of Works, they don't have that capacity to fix Nigerian roads. The concession opportunity is there. They've never used it, taken advantage of it. Okay? Not only that, FEMA has the opportunity to construct toll gates for all FEMA roads, all national roads, all our federal roads across the country. These toll gates ought to be a very good source of income for FEMA. I can assure you, if they have access to this type of funding, it will go a long way for them to be able to efficiently deliver their function. When you look at FEMA, FEMA has the opportunity to take about 5% of fuel tax for the purpose of implementing, fixing Nigerian roads. FEMA hasn't gotten any access to all this funding. They kept on struggling. We don't have 10 contractors in the country today, 10 conservatively, who can do rigid pavements efficiently in a way that will be able to deliver this kind of quality that I believe the minister will be looking at. We don't have it. That's number one. Number two, the training for you to be able to do rigid pavement is deep. It's unlike asphalt, where you just go and call people, bring paver. When the paver is not working, use your tipper, spread the asphalt, put all the laborers on site, let them spread the asphalt and bring your rollers and begin to roll. That can be conveniently handled. Everybody cannot handle concrete. So in other words, the first responsibility of the minister will be to go and look at how he will put people together, structure together among Nigerian contractors. I'm not talking about international companies now, because when you say you want to use rigid pavement, the only people that can deliver it based on the expectation of the minister, that will meet his expectation, I believe, are only multinational companies for now. Our people need to migrate from asphalt that they are used to concrete by way of training. Concrete is difficult to handle for a non-professional. Even as a structural engineer, from my experience, I have discovered from various project managements that only few contractors can deliver quality concrete in this country. And I challenge anybody that has any dispute on that. Even common petrol stations, domestic compound road network that people are doing, go and check it. They can't fix 500 meters road with concrete. If you want to migrate from asphalt to concrete, you call for what we call holistic review of the existing facility that we have. Why is it not functioning? If you use iron to do road, that doesn't make the road to be good. That doesn't make the road to be durable. Durability of road is a function of, number one, quality control. Number two, quality assurance. Talking about quality control and quality assurance, those are things that will guarantee the success or failure of your road infrastructure or of any projects that you plan to do. So it's not about we want to use concrete in order for the road to be durable. No. If you give concrete road job, that is rigid pavement for people who are used to flexible pavement installation to execute, I can assure you, you end up wasting your money. You can easily manage and maintain asphalt if there is failure in the execution of the job. You can't manage concrete. Removing concrete that failed is another contract. A major contract entirely. And I'm sure the president and the minister will look at the position of whether pavement, whether rigid or flexible pavement globally before it will be adopted. You need to discuss it. Call all the stakeholders. Let Council of Registered Engineers, Nigerian Society of Engineers, even Nigerian Institute of Architecture, NIA, NIQS, let them come together. Challenge them to come up with ideas. Challenge them to go and come up with blueprints. When they come up with blueprints, of their field professionally. Invite qualified consultants. Review all the consulting firms that we have in the country. Let them come up with proposals. Continue with what you are doing currently, which is asphalt pavement, while you are reviewing all their stuff. Whatever their proposal is. It's not something that you wake up today, I want to start doing reinforced concrete, except you want to give job to only multinational company, which will not address the primary objective of this administration. All our infrastructural development, maybe 40-60 or 60-40, international, multinational company and local engineering company. If you don't promote indigenous company to execute our infrastructure, it means all the money you will disburse will be taken out of the country. It won't serve the purpose. And our people are not ready. I say it loud and clear. They've not been trained. Rigid pavement is not for everybody.
Well, interesting times ahead for Nigerian roads with square pegs in square holes. And that's been you and your reps. Thanks for your time. I am Victor, as we'll see you next time.